So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. A win is a win is a win. Aston Villa get their first win after a game that was pretty ponderous at times, but a game I think that you could take an awful lot of bright points from. Aston Villa's win coming through John McGinn goal in the first half. I think it was 15 minutes in and around that time. Shot from outside the box, really good shot, to be honest with you, right in the corner, gave the keeper no chance, and Villa needed something like that. They needed the whole team needs a kind of an uplift, and because the team's confidence has been lowered in a snake's belly, I suppose, for a lot of this this season so far. So winning will breed some sort of confidence, at least within this competition, and it's something that you can build on. I do think there was some good performances out there tonight. There was obviously one very poor performance, and we might as well get that one out of the way early. It was, Morgan Rogers. Morgan Rogers looked like a player with dartitis. Any of you guys familiar with dartitis? Anybody who plays darts or watches darts? He looked like somebody who's succumbing to that. That it's confidence, mental wise, it's very low at the moment. Struggled to do basic things today, like basic passes out of through the middle, basic passes out to the wing. There was like, once again, it's a culmination for him. He needs a good game. He needs to get his confidence up again. Maybe there will come a time where you can't play him out of this, where he has to sit. And I don't know when that time will come, but you could see that Unai Emery is trying to play him out of this. Look, it progressed tonight, and I think as the game went on, it actually became more and more noticeable. I did an interesting thing though today, that I watched this game because I seem to remember when we were in the Europa League. I seem to remember that we had a commentators used to hate watch Aston Villa in the Europa League. And there was they came ill prepared. They didn't have a lot of their work done, and it was a case of, let's harp on the fact that that other teams can have chances against Aston Villa, even if Villa are winning. And if Villa are winning, they were harping on the fact that, let's get this, let's be really excited if this other team gets an equalizer. I had a funny feeling that was going to return now that we weren't in the Champions League and we weren't the lucky loser. We weren't the lucky underdogs, the plucky underdogs, should I say. And I watched the first half without any commentary on, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I probably, without having the influence of commentary. And I watched the second half and I got a small bit annoyed because the amount of inaccuracies that the commentary team had were just absolutely mind-blowing. But anyway, that's an aside. That's an aside from the performance and the field. But I do think it's worth saying here that if you were expecting a perfect performance today with regards to the way the team has been played, that you're going to drive yourself mad if you were expecting that today. This is a team that's going to need to build up its confidence because of the way it's been over the last few weeks. And I think that today's game absolutely will do that. Defensive structure, I thought, was good today. That was really good. Commentary team kept on harping on about the two wingers getting a lot of joy. They didn't really, because I think Villa did to Bologna today what teams have done to Aston Villa, and just basically said, you're not coming through the middle. Go wide if you wish. And that sometimes can make your wingers look an awful lot better. But I thought Maatsen was very disciplined today. I thought Matty Cash was very disciplined today. I thought Pau Torres was probably our best player in the game today. Marco Bizot made a lot of good saves, and I thought Kamara was pretty good as well. But I think that defensive structure, to be honest with you, it's been pretty evident since we've in this season. Yes, we've conceded one or two silly goals, but I think there's been a lot of work done in our defensive structure. And it's going to be interesting to see about the chopping and changing between Mings and Pau. Does somebody make that position their own? Does somebody, stay in that position? And what comes with that if somebody does, grab that jersey and make that position their own. If somebody does do that, well, then the clamour will be for the other person to come in. But that's just the nature of football fandom. But it's a good issue to have if the stability stays. If the stability is as good as it was tonight, 'cause I like teams are allowed to create chances against us, and they will always create chances. But it's about how we kind of defend them. And there was only one instance I thought tonight where we didn't defend it, and that was the header that Castro got that hit off the crossbar. And yes, it hits off the crossbar and it goes over. And should he have scored? Probably should have. But I think a lot of their other chances were. I think there were half chances, quarter chances. There was nothing really imminent from them, I thought, throughout the course of this game. That header at the end, Marco Bizot can save that pretty easily, and he did. And I think Bizot played well today. And I was very worried when he went down injured, because I was going, I don't really want to see, much not as I want Sam Proctor to turn into the future goalkeeper for Aston Villa. Don't really want to see him in this game when confidence is low. Other plus points I thought that came from tonight was, I thought Jadon Sancho was very good when he came on from a tactical point of view. I thought when he got in the ball, he was very good. I thought his defensive work was very good when Jadon Sancho came on. And I think conversely, on the other side, Evan Gassand, not the finished article, raw as a fox's arse, but it's the thing about Evan Gassand is that like, you won't get the lack of effort from Evan Gassand. That's what I've seen in any of the games we've seen from him so far. He's going to work his tail off, and he knows he's got this opportunity at Aston Villa. It's not working out for him at the moment. He's playing in a team that's devoid of confidence, but there was a couple of times today you could see he got down the side of his man, got crosses in. There was one time today where Malin got in his way, or basically passed the ball to him and then ran towards him again, which I thought was really strange, and it kind of put Gassand off. Needs to be a bit more greedy and pull the trigger a small bit early, but I think you could probably wager that at every single Aston Villa player at the moment, attacking player at the moment anyway, needs to back themselves, be a bit more greedy and be a bit more confident in doing that. I thought Daniel Malin, look, I don't want to. We'll get to Ollie Watkins in a moment and the penalty miss, because the penalty was absolutely dreadful. Okay, right, but we'll compartmentalize the two of those strikers, but that. The difference in type of striker between Daniel Malin and Ollie Watkins is very stark, from the point of view that Daniel Malin gets on the ball, but it's almost like as if he's too busy. I don't know what it is, but I'm not used to watching a striker like Malin, I think, play up top for Aston Villa. I think that's what it is. And I'm beginning to think it's a me thing, because I don't dislike Malin, right? Don't get me wrong. I don't dislike him. I think probably just stylistically, there was a couple of times tonight, it was about 4 times he tried the exact same move and it didn't really work for him. It didn't go wrong, but it certainly didn't go right, put it that way. And it kind of stifled the attack slightly, a small bit. But he is a very good option to have. And I think with Daniel Malin, here's the kicker with this. I think Daniel Malin gets a game. I think he could go off in a game and get 2 goals. And I think that would do, once again, and I know I'm talking about confidence, I think that would do him oodles of good. I think it really would. And I think it would do this team lots of good, because the team are looking for a striker to stand up and to be good. And none of them are doing it currently at the moment. And then we move on towards Oliver George Arthur Watkins, who I think it's pretty much time to say, Ollie, you cannot take penalties anymore. You've missed 4 of your last 8. Missed 4 of your last 8 penalties. It's a thing. It's a thing now. It's very much so a thing. That and there's somebody there that has to be able to take a penalty. There's somebody in that 11. They're all multi-millionaires. There's one of them has to be able to put the ball in the back of the net without any pressure on them from 12 yards. Just has to be able to do it. It's borderline unprofessional if you can amass 15 players within a squad and one of them can't take a penalty. And I'm talking about borderline unprofessional on the players' part. But Ollie Watkins is not that guy. He's not. He's not that guy to take the penalty. It was a dreadful penalty. Dreadful penalty. Now, saying that, I thought Ollie Watkins in open play was really good. I thought his movement was way better than Malin's. I thought they did really well to win the penalty, and he missed the chance late on. But it's going to be remembered. Tonight's going to be remembered for his penalty miss. And that's the thing. Ollie Watkins scores that tonight. I think we're coming out of this game and we're going, do you know what? Ollie looks back up for it. Thought he was good when he came on. Won the penalty, was running the channels, was getting through the centre, was making those darting runs from the penalty spot to the edge of the 6-yard box for cutbacks and stuff like that. That's good to see from Ollie Watkins. He hasn't had a chance to do that this year. That's really good to see from him. But the everlasting memory from Ollie Watkins tonight will be a dreadful penalty straight down the middle on the ground that any goalkeeper can leave a trailing leg for to stop. And that needs to be addressed. That really does need to be addressed. So the two performances tonight, the two things tonight were Morgan Rogers' overall performance, I think, was substandard. He needs to get better. And he can get better. He's a bloody brilliant player. He's at a low ebb at the moment. Whether he needs to be benched for a game, whether he can play himself out of this, there's only so much time you can give somebody to play themselves out of something like this before it becomes futile after that. But there is, we all know how good of a player Morgan Rogers is, and I think the frustration here is that we want to see that again, but there's no green shoots that we will see that again, because we saw it in preseason. He was bloody excellent against Marseille, and was it Marseille? He was playing some good football in preseason, and it's just since the season is hit, it's not been there. And I don't buy into the whole he was promised a move. Don't buy into that, because I think he was off the table to be sold. I don't think there's any way he was going to be sold this offseason. I don't think he was forcing a move. I don't think he was looking for a way out either, because he wants to play in the World Cup. He wants to play World Cup football. Playing with Aston Villa, he knows he's going to get 40, 50 games this season. If he moves to Chelsea or to Liverpool, he might only get 25. And I think that's, there's way too many reasons for him not to want to leave. But anyway, let's not talk about the conjecture, because I'm getting a bit pissed off, I suppose, with this all the club promised everybody leave. Everybody they could leave. They didn't. They just didn't, because if they promised everybody they could leave, or were trying to sell everybody, then they would have sold more players than they did. So there's no basis for this. So we have to move past that narrative now and move on towards what's on the field, and move on towards, what happens in January, and then see if that comes back again. And if that does rear its head, with a brand new director of football, well, then we'll talk about it then. But this whole, I find it's not helpful just constantly when somebody's on a bad run of form and a bad run of confidence to just immediately go, his head's been turned. I just don't think it's the case from it's the guy's just not playing good football at the moment. Yes, he played good football for England, surrounded by better players. I would have thought that would have been the catalyst and the starting point for him to get better for Aston Villa, but so far it hasn't been the case. Now, that's not to say he doesn't start against Fulham and score 2 goals at the weekend. So it's a flippant game, it's a fickle game, and I think that he is a very good footballer. We've seen it over the last 18 months, going through a rough patch. He's 23, only turned 23 in July, or as the commentator thought, he only turned he turned 22 in May. Is what the commentator said. And the commentator also said that Robin Gesand was 22 when Evan Gesand is 24. So I think I'm going to practice watching the game without any commentary, so that I don't get any negative influence in future when I'm watching games, because I just found it I don't know why, but it really scratched the side of my brain tonight listening to the commentary. Really, really did. I felt that it was like as if they'd never watched Aston Villa before, and we obviously know that they have. So it's just lazy, frustrating stuff. But anyway, getting back to matters on the field, I'm going to go back to Jadon Sancho. I'm probably going to be more effusive in praise for Jadon Sancho than a lot of people will be that you'll probably hear on podcasts. Do you know why? Because I didn't expect him to be, from everything you hear from everyone at Chelsea, Man United, and everything since he's come back into the Premier League, I didn't expect him to be as disciplined in his tactical makeup as he has been since he's joined Aston Villa. In the small bits that we've seen him. But I was impressed with him tonight. I'm impressed with his how he held his position. I was impressed with the defensive work, the high press that he had, and I was impressed. The limited time that he got on the ball, I was impressed with as well. So I want to see him build on that, because if anybody who's come in any of these transfers that we've seen at the flurry at the end of the year, if anybody came in that had the most questions over them, it was him. everyone was like, "Oh, yeah, Jadon Sancho is kind of a throwaway kind of transfer for the sake of it." But I'm seeing something that I hope he can build on, and can work better for Aston Villa, because look, we have him now until the end of the season. We should all want him to succeed, and I know we all do want him to succeed. It was surprising that Harvey Elliott didn't get a game tonight. I'm fully expecting Harvey Elliott to play at the weekend. I just like he just has to. He's a talented footballer. Does he? It I am it is the only kind of head scratcher for me, that you don't kind of bring Morgan Rogers off for the last 10 minutes and go, Morg, it didn't work for you. But look, gave you as much time as you possibly could. Harvey's gone on there now. Listen, dust yourself off. We've got a big game at the weekend. But it didn't happen. So I think we'll see Harvey Elliott some way, shape, or form from the start at the weekend. I liked what they did as well. Much not as I liked Ian Matson's performance tonight. And as you guys know, I am pretty on the fence about Ian Matson from a defensive ability, but you have to give a guy his flowers when he's due it. I thought he was pretty good tonight. He did. I thought the substitution to bring on Luca Dean was actually perfectly timed. I thought it was the right sub to make at the right time, and I proved it, because I think Dean came on, offered something different, and we didn't really give them a sniff down that side. Obviously, look, every team gets chances, but I thought Dean was very competent, obviously, as you would expect when he came on, and he was able to drive people on down in attack as well. So I'm expecting that to I think I have to give kudos for that substitution. And I also think the Sancho and Watkins substitutions were the right ones to make at that time as well. Freshen up the attack. They brought a bit more impetus for us. We were able to attack a small bit better on the counter attack because of their movement. Obviously, again, as I go, the Watkins penalty then sours an awful lot of things when we do talk about that substitution or Watkins' performance in general. But I do think outside the penalty miss that Watkins showed a lot better movement than he has so far this season. So I think there's a lot. I think there's you often hear Emery go, yes, there's a lot of positives and there's things to build on in games. And he said that after some games we played this year, and I struggled to see where an awful lot was to build on, but I could definitely see where there was an awful lot to build on in that game today. I think even outside of the commentators' glee that the Bologna made a tepid push towards the end to equalize, I think Villa were in the main, pretty much in control of a lot of areas in that game tonight. They obviously didn't own the ball as much as they have done before. I think Villa want teams to come on them. And I think to come at them, should I say. And they obviously didn't own the passing stats and everything like that. But, we can't be critical of Aston Villa when they don't own the passing stats and then see social media aghast at the fact that Aston Villa are owning the passing stats and not scoring goals. So I think there was a change of formation, there was a change of tactic, and there was a change of impetus tonight, the way that we did play. And we came out of it with a win, and it's it wasn't a pretty win. It wasn't a perfect win. It certainly wasn't, but it's a starting point, and a win is a win. I'm going to come to some of your comments there, because I know a little bit low at the start for when my mic wasn't working, so apologies about that. My mic did look like it was working, but for some reason it wasn't showing on StreamYard, the wonderful StreamYard. And just as I say that, the wonderful StreamYard has now frozen, and I can't go backwards on my comments. And I can't go forwards on my comments for whatever bloody reason that is happening. That's frustrating. No, that is frustrating. That's two issues that we've had. So I can only see a couple of comments here, and I won't even allow me click on them here now at the moment. Paul Pell says he's been happy with Sancho so far. I absolutely have. I've been quietly very surprised with Sancho. Very surprised with him, and I hope that continues, and I hope he continues to grow. And I'd love to see him get a goal, much like I'd love to see every forward player for Aston Villa get a goal at the moment. Where else are we there? Kamara, Suchip says here, Kamara was very good. Yeah, Kamara's coming back to his best again. And what I think was really interesting tonight is Kamara was going a lot deeper than we've seen, and obviously because we were trying to be more ball dominant at the start of the season, specifically against Brentford. We didn't see the back three makeup, Kamara going into the back, picking it up from off the toes of the two centre halves, are going to be one of the deeper players to take that ball from the goalkeeper, that the straight ball from the goalkeeper, or the thrown ball from the goalkeeper. He's much more composed in that position now. And we could see an awful lot that even though he had Castro standing maybe 5 yards to his left, Bizzo was okay with rolling the ball out to him because he was able to break that the press from Castro and move forward. There was one time I think McGinn got caught doing it and Kamara actually bailed him out. And then Kamara took up that mantle on the edge of the box for being the out ball afterwards. And again, when Kamara starts to tick and starts to become that, that everywhere player, that real defensive shield, the guy who's able to go back in to make it a back three. And what I like to say about it is when he gets that bounce in his hair, when he's getting around the field and there's a sprightliness to him, which he, injuries curtail that sometimes, and it takes him a while to get back. Thought tonight he was really good as well. Thought he was getting back to his best tonight. I thought McGinn was good tonight. As well. So like when I talk about good, I'm talking about relative to what we've seen so far this season. You can see things coming together. Excuse me. Matsy, sorry guys, again, I have no control over my comments here. Matt C says, I'm really not convinced Malin can play centre forward. I agree, he's so untidy. I don't want to come across as being completely down on Malin. As I said, it kind of came to me when I was talking about him there that I'm just not used to watching a striker like that play for Aston Villa. And because we've had Watkins as the main fulcrum for so long, we had John Duran, who just is like no other striker in the world, and a lot of his failings were dug himself out of it with some wonderful goals and brilliant goals at brilliant times. But Daniel Malin is a lot more of a prescribed player, I would say. A player who's trying to make the run that technically you should make, whereas I'm not seeing an awful lot of ingenuity in him, but that's fine too. A lot of strikers are like that. Like arguably you could say that Harry Kane is the best striker in the world at making the run that you should make, and it's impossible to stop when you get it right. And I think Malin obviously hasn't played centre forward for a while. At Dortmund he was playing out on the right hand side quite a lot. Last time that he's played fully centre forward for a full year was at PSV some 3 or 4 years ago. So there's going to be some ring rust there and that as well. Also, he has been shifted from the right to playing in the centre and so on as well. So I'm not being overly critical. I think the big thing for me, as I said, is I think that it's a me thing. It's a me thing. I think I'm just not used to seeing the runs that he makes. And just because we've seen so little different, we've not seen that style of striker, I think, at Villa. Because of all the games that Ollie Watkins has played, and obviously you had Duran and you had Danny Ings and Rashford and stuff like that. But I think Malin is a bit more cautious and a bit more a bit more textbook, I think, in some of the stuff that he does. And that's probably a bit more deliberate, I would say, more so. And that's probably why I'm coming across as being a small bit more down on him, but I'm not. I think he's got a lot of talent. I know there's going to be a game where we're going to see him and he's just going to go off and he's going to score a goal or two, and then it's going to get his confidence up again, and things will be fine, I think, for sure. Where else are we? Where are we? I can't remember. Please write that in the book of neologisms, please. I can't remember what one that was. But I was on autopilot there talking for a while. Yes, this is what I meant to say. This I actually wrote it on the inside of my hand, and it wiped off. But I wrote it about early in the second half. We caught Bologna offside an awful lot. That was why it was when I was mentioning that I think that there was a tweak to the way that we wanted to play. I think we kind of went back to an 18 months ago style at Unai Emery's team tonight. I think we did. Just the positioning of John McGinn, the positioning of Kamara, the way our fullbacks, they went forward, but they weren't as like it wasn't as it was more structured. The structure looked better to me. The eye test for me was better. our back four and our full back play. You guys will know at the start of the season, I've been down on our full back play. I thought it's been disjointed. I thought it's been Hail Mary stuff. I don't think that it showed no pattern. It showed no positive pattern, should I say? The way that both of our fullbacks were playing, but I think they were a lot better tonight. They married the defensive and the attacking work a small bit better. And I think, look, as Bob said there as well, we caught Bologna offside a lot. And it wasn't the Bologna were making their runs too early. We were catching them offside. So our offside trap was back in action again today. And that's not just saying that because of the statistics and because in the second half the commentator mentioned it, but I'm saying it because you could see it being enacted. You could see the momentum of the back four moving and the two centre halves being in synchronicity to be able to get out at times as well there. So that's good. I'm not saying that we go back to that full ludicrous, ridiculous, well, sorry, not ludicrous and ridiculous, but I suppose now in 2025 it will be with semi-automated offsides. But going to that ultra high line again, I'm not saying we go to that, but moving as a unit again and being more structured as a back four is going to be very beneficial for this back four, because look, if we don't start scoring goals, the best thing we can do is not concede them at the other end, and then give ourselves a chance late into the game to maybe nick games going forward. But you build from the back and then you progress from the front, if that makes sense. Throughout the course of a season, you just look at like the Crystal Palace, and I know being defensive will only get you so far, unless you've got a team like Mourinho's Chelsea teams back in the day when they were ultra defensive, conceded hardly no goals, and always did enough to win 2-0 or 2-1 in games. Villa aren't going to be that team because we just don't have the quality in our squad. Those Chelsea teams are exceptional quality. But what we could be is like last year and the year before, and since Oliver Glasner has come into Crystal Palace, he's made them very difficult to score against. And that makes a huge difference because it always gives you an opportunity that if your strikers get hot for a period during the course of the year, you can make hay while the sun shines if you're confident that your back four can be steadfast and limit games to at most the opposition scoring one goal. And then if your strikers are getting hot during the course of the year, well then you have an opportunity to get back to back wins or back to back results. So that's how guys, spoiler alert, that's how we got to Champions League. That's how we got to the Champions League. Yes, we had some games where we scored lots of goals, but we had some games where we had to dig in defensively, be really good, keep ourselves in the game, and score late on or score in the 75th minute or something like that. Like you just go back to the Man City game where Leon Bailey gets his deflected shot off and it goes into the back of the net and Villa are able to hold on. The Arsenal game, they came hot in the heels of that as well. They're the games we go back to when our defenses were rock solid and we gave ourselves a chance that when we got the Man City game is a bit different because we absolutely bossed that game. But that Arsenal game, we really had to ride our luck. We had to be defensively solid, and then we had to go on. And when we got a chance, we had to take it. And that's what I mean by our strikers playing themselves into this season as well. It may not happen to that degree, but if your defense is rock solid, you give yourself a chance in every single game. And it was Alex Ferguson trait. It was a Mourinho trait. It's a Pep Guardiola trait. Albeit the Guardiola likes to pass the ball around and be ball dominant. I'm okay with us not being ball dominant if we can keep the ball out of the back of the net. And I have to say, bar the Crystal Palace game, we've shown that we can hold teams to one goal. And that is a slight ray of light, I suppose, really. We've kept quite a lot of clean sheets at the start of the season. What's that now? Three clean sheets in 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is. 7 games, I suppose. Not in is it 4 clean sheets in 7 games? Jeez, my mind is mush at the moment, guys. So apologies about that. But keeping those clean sheets we couldn't keep clean sheets for Toffee last year. Now we're keeping, we need to be able to marry the two is what I'm saying. We can't just be Jekyll and Hyde from that point of view. Marry the two like we did in the year we got to the Champions League and come across a portion of the season and see if we can propel ourselves up the leagues, just see where we finish. but it all starts at good defense. You know, it all starts at good defense, and I think we can say that we had pretty good defense tonight. I'm going to have another crack at trying to do some comments here as well, guys, because this is really frustrating. As to why I can't, because especially when I'm doing the podcast on my own, I want to talk to you guys. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So I'm going to scroll down. Here we go. A lot of love for Sancho there as well. Ochialism says Pau and Kamara played well in my opinion. Few decent performances. Malin with a bit of luck could have had a couple tonight. I agree. I think he could have. And I think Gassand could have had a goal tonight. Probably should have had a goal. Should have had a goal at the weekend as well. So playing himself into the structure, number one, and second of all, playing himself into the speed of Europa League football. Albeit that I think that playing in the French league is the same speed, but playing in the Premier League is different. So I can see green shoots with Gassand. I want to see more from him for £26 million. I do want to see more, but I can see green shoots for him. And I think those two guys specifically get a goal, build their confidence, and see where they can go from there. But like as I say, it's pretty much copy and paste for every single player that plays in that front four for Aston Villa currently at the moment. There's one man I didn't mention actually, and he was taken off, and it's Emi Buendia. And again, I think tonight was another night whereby it was effort above output for Emi Buendia tonight. And I think that's going to get him a lot of starts, to be honest with you, specifically away from home, specifically in the Europa League. Because look, say what you like about him, but he's 100% effort, and he's 100% high press. I thought his closing down in the high press was really, really good. He's just somebody sent me a tweet and it encapsulates him. Sometimes the head moves or the feet move faster than the head, or I can't remember which way they put it. Yeah, the feet move faster than the head sometimes with him, and composure. He lacks composure at times, but I will never ever sit here and say that Emi Buendia doesn't give effort or doesn't give 100%, because Jesus, he does. He's like he's Mighty Mouse at times when he gets out there with the amount, or Speedy Gonzalez, whatever way you want to call it. Just I'm equating him to a mouse at the moment because of his small stature, but he's all work rate. And again, he's another fella that I'd like to go on a run of good play. But even when we were getting into the chat, when we were playing in the Europa League, when he was doing okay, and even when when Emery first came in, he did misplaced passes. He was playing more centrally at that time, and he was getting blanketed by defenses and by defensive central midfielders. So I want to see him progress again. He's somebody who had 1 foot and 4 toes out the door, even up until about the 30th of August. And, he's shown good character to come back, force his way into the team. And he just looks like somebody who wants to play a game of football. We have to remember, Emi Buendia is a good footballer as well, capped by Argentina, played pretty well for Leverkusen last year as well. Very, very good team under Xabi Alonso. Again, rinse and repeat, copy and paste, whatever you want to call it. Another guy who just needs a goal, needs a good performance. We need a good team performance that players can slap themselves in the back and kind of grow from. And I think this win in a way will be one of those catalysts. But you have to go out now and do it in the Premier League in the weekend against Fulham. 2 wins in a week can be a massive buoyancy. It can show a massive buoyancy for this team and for this club and for the rest of this season. I'm absolutely swimming without a buoyancy aid here, without any comments, guys. So I apologize. I'm going to have to, I'm probably going to end it here at this, and I'm going to let you guys go and watch whichever Aston Villa podcast you want to watch. Be careful, not allowed to name them anymore. But obviously we've got some great Villa podcasts out there, and they're all, I'm sure a lot of them will be coming online now. So look, we've got a win. We've got to win. It's our first win of the season. Also, I gotta. Can we stop using this ludicrous statistic of Villa's first win in 132 days in competitive football? Like 80 of those days or 90 of those days were during the fucking off season. Like, it's bonkers. The like these silly statistics. I remember, I'll never forget being a kid and hearing on Match of the Day, Stuart Ripley hasn't scored a goal in over 400 days. And then you go, I remember he was playing for Southampton at the time. He was playing with Blackburn at the time, Stuart Ripley. And then I remember going, then the commentator says like 30 seconds afterwards, Stuart Ripley just coming back after being out for nearly 11 months. And you're going, well, why did you make him out to be as if he was absolutely useless, saying he hadn't scored a goal in over a year when he'd been out of football for over a year or for just under a year, you know? So that grinds my gears. I'm going to get that off my chest now. That whole Villa didn't win a game in 132 days. Yeah, there was a rake of those days that were the off season, for Jesus' sake. So I feel better about that anyway. I don't know what you guys do. Right. I'm dying of a cold. I need to get to bed. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching and for listening. Really appreciate your time. Go in and immerse yourself in Aston Villa content over the next few days. A win is a win. This is the catalyst for the rest of the season. Mind yourselves. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.